Oh yeah, we are recording. Okay, this is Dave Simon here with tonight's webinar with our featured Kids Rock and Junior Rocker superstars. These are schools that have 15 to 25 or more students in either one of their programs. And David has just been cloned. It looks like there's two of him now. So what will happen is each person, Emily and Ed and Darren and myself will each answer these questions, and then we'll open up the webinar for any questions. And actually, you can feel free to type questions in the right. Okay, so the first question is, give us a brief overview of your marketing strategy. Well, that's probably a 30-minute conversation in of itself, but right now, overview my marketing strategies. I'm really focused. I have a constant Facebook ad. I have two constant Facebook ads running on Kidzrock. And, Facebook has just become way too complicated for me. I spent a lot of time learning about it. And I now I've outsourced that. And I really encourage everybody to spend the money, have someone help you with your Facebook ads. It's just way too sophisticated for us common folk. So that's kind of, Facebook's really where I'm putting in a lot of my money. I do a lot of, social media about Facebook, but I really have stuck with my original kind of marketing strategy with Kidzrock, which is just, telling people about it. When I'm talking to a friend, or if I'm at a party and I meet somebody with a kid in that 4 to 7 year old age group, I try to find a way, in a very organic way, and in a way that's really focused on them, mention Kidzrock. I mean, typically someone will say, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" And there's my opportunity. Before I answer that question, if I know they have kids in that age group, I'm going to tell them what I do, but I'm going to find a way to tell them about Kidzrock. So I really, even like tonight, I was hanging out in my school's lobby, and it's a great way to interact with people, and I get a lot of sales for Kidzrock and Junior Rockers just by interacting with my customers. Okay, what do you attribute your success to with Kidzrock? I don't know if that's grammatically correct the way I wrote it, but I think I attribute my success to just persistence with it. Bless you, Janice. We did not hear that, by the way. We did not hear it. Your mic was mute. Sneeze away. But just being really persistent with it and constantly talking about it and just simply believing in it. People, when they hear that you believe in your program, they pick up on it. So yeah, that's what I attribute my success to with it. Have you tried any guerrilla style or grassroots marketing tactics? If so, what? You could say that just kind of talking to your customers or being out in public and interacting with people is a form of grassroots marketing. But in the early days, when I started Kidzrock, I wasn't doing anything on Facebook. No Facebook ads. Didn't even have a Facebook account. So I was going, and it talks about this in the manual, I would just go into preschools. I would do anything I could to get into a preschool and hand out materials, marketing materials for Kidzrock, but I'd always perform for them, or I would do some type of instrument demonstration. So I don't do it anymore. I mean, I rely on social media a lot more, but in the early days, that was really my tactic. Let's see, please share with us. Please share with us your phone pitch for Kidzrock. Well, not everyone here might be comfortable with that. And I really, pitching in front of people can be a really uncomfortable thing to do. And I really encourage all of you to role play pitching your studios, whether it's Kidzrock or your dance programs or music lessons. The more you do it, the more you practice, the better you get at it, the more effective you'll be. And I did a lot of where I would pitch, or I would record myself on a recorder while I was pitching to somebody, and I would listen to it. And I learned so much about, what I needed to work on. So here's here's my Kids Rock pitch. The first thing I'll do is I'll just kind of run down some talking. These are like points that I have in front of me while I'm talking to a parent about Kids Rock. Not ready for, so I always make sure to say that kids, at this age aren't ready for lessons, but they understand some basic music concepts. I got this from Ed. Thank you, Ed, for this next line. They get to play as a rock band on day one. Parents really like that. It's a fun and easy way to learn how to play an instrument. They get to perform in a concert. And that my hope for the child is that they fall in love with music and discover their instrument. So those are those kind of main talking points I always be sure to hit in the sales call. And here's a sample pitch that I have written out. I never really quite say it this way, but I'll have this in front of me. So I'll say, well, kids in this younger age group aren't quite ready for private lessons, but they understand some basic musical concepts. Kids Rock is designed so kids can play in a real rock band on day one and feel good about their abilities. It's a fun and easy way to learn how to play music, and it's a performance-based program. So kids get to put on a concert in real music venues. And the concerts are a real peak moment for the kids. Our hope for Adam is that he falls in love with the music and that he ultimately discovers the instrument that he wants to pursue. So there's my my Kids Rock pitch. Really simple. What's the next question? Do you direct 4 to 7 year old prospects to Kids Rock that are inquiring about lessons? That's a tough. Oh, hey, Sean, how's it going? That's a tough question. But yes, I do. If anyone between the ages of 4 to 7, we say, well, what we have found is that kids that are 5-year-olds really do better in our program called Kids Rock, and I explain why, and I strongly recommend that they go to Kids Rock. And I'd say 80% of the time, the parent says, okay, well, we don't want to do piano. We'll go ahead and we'll do Kids Rock. And one of the questions I always ask a prospective student or the parent is, what inspired you to seek out music lessons for your child? From that question, I can find out whether the kid is the one who's kind of driving the conversation, whether the kid's the one who is seeking out lessons, or is it the parent who's just saying, well, my kid's 5, maybe music would be a good thing for them. Let me call the studio, and I guess piano would be a good place to start. Those types of parents, those types of customers are really great candidates for Kids Rock. If I get a parent calling me and says, my 6-year-old is going to the piano and they won't stop playing it, and I noticed that she figured out Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, that kid maybe lessons is the way to go, because that kid's already trying to play at home and there's some frustration developing, and lessons can, add some structure to it. But I would say 80% of our inquiries in that 4 to 7 year age group are going into Kids Rock, maybe even a little bit more. We didn't initially do that. We would present Kids Rock as an option. Oh, your kid's 6? You want piano lessons? Well, great. And we can certainly do that. I want to tell you about this other program. So it's kind of like, hey, look, I know you're ordering the Big Mac, but I want to tell you about the Quarter Pounder with cheese. That's a tough sell. Like, no, I want the Big Mac. You have to be able to convince them. So if someone comes in and says, I want to order the Big Mac, and you say, well, the Big Mac really is more suited for teenagers. For someone your child's age, we recommend the Happy Meal. It comes with a prize, and you start talking about all these things, and the parent goes, yes, the Happy Meal clearly makes more sense for my child. Even though I wanted the Big Mac, I'm going to switch. I'm going to order the Happy Meal. So we really started growing our program more that way by shifting the language, on the sales language on the phone. Okay, next question. What possible impact has Kids Rock had on your business? Well, for me, I'd say maybe half of my school now came from Kidzrock. When I look at my 13, 14-year-olds, I mean, I've had Kidzrock for 9 years now in my studio. So my young teenagers, many of them came from Kidzrock. So it's really just expanded the lifetime value of a customer. What has been your biggest challenge with Kidzrock? The biggest challenge with Kidzrock for me has been that people aren't looking for it. No one's looking for a rock band for 4 to 7-year-olds. So I feel that I have solved that problem by really rethinking how Kidzrock is featured on my webpage or my website. I stopped saying Kidzrock as the name of the program, and I started calling it, rock band ages 4 to 7. And the word Kidzrock didn't really appear until you actually got to the Kidzrock landing page. Hey, Robin, looks like Robin's coming online. So yeah, the biggest challenge has been that my community isn't looking for this program. And once they hear about it, once I tell them about it, they're on board with it. So I've really had to, it's like my kids signing up for private lessons, for piano lessons. The parents get what piano lessons are, and they're looking for piano lessons. And they even have an idea of what piano lessons is going to look like. They have no idea what Kidzrock is going to look like. So it's up to us to kind of, paint that picture for them. What advice would you offer to a licensee just getting started with the program? My advice would be, first of all, don't freak out about your band's not sounding good in the first few rehearsals. And don't freak out if you're freaking out teaching the class. Get in there and teach a little bit, and then reread the operations manual on the teaching components, because a lot of it during the training it makes sense conceptually, but it's not a real world experience yet. So that's my first advice, or one thing I would advise. And I'd also advise new licensees, and it looks like we have a couple on this call, is when you want customers in Kidzrock, they're right there in your studio. You just got to find them. You don't have to necessarily start throwing a lot of money into Facebook. Look at your current student roster and identify who's got siblings in this age group, and literally get on the phone if you have to. And so we've got this new program I really think you're going to love. I'm at a point now where I've been doing it for 9 years, so people in the school and in the community know that I have this rock band program for 4 to 7. So there's my my answering of the questions. I figured we should maybe focus on the East Coast next, because I know it's getting late there, and I see Darren Simon nodding his head. So Darren,
yes,
your mic is on. So Darren, tell us. Well, we know your name now, Darren Simon, of course. And you guys, you got to check out his Facebook videos of his kids playing music. It is like the cutest thing. Do you have those on YouTube?
I don't. Maybe a couple of them. I got to get on that game.
Okay. If you guys think Darren has personality, wait till you see his kids. They're hilarious. So Darren, tell us a little bit. Can you tell us the name of your studio and where you're located?
Sure. So we are In Home Jams, and we are located outside of Boston in a city called Newton, which is about 10 minutes out of Boston, 15 minutes out of Boston. And I think we've been going for about a little over a year, Dave, with Kidzrock.
Yeah.
And we also do junior rockers as well. Our concept's a little bit different, or our location, because we run this program out of our home studio. So I don't know how many others do that. Our business is mostly, we have a couple hundred kids in home lessons. And then we have our band program. We're kind of in a transition point, but we have 2 studios in our basement of our house, and we have about 75 kids a week coming to the house. So Kidzrock is actually run out of my garage, which is a hip, cool studio. I renovated the garage. So cars are driving in and stopping by and dropping their kids off and coming up our driveway. And it's a funky place we're in right now, but it's cool. And we're at about 30 something students, maybe, give or take.
30 kids in Kidzrock and Junior Rockers combined, or just Kidzrock?
No, just in Kidzrock.
That's great.
We have classes. We have some classes which have 2 kids. We have some classes which have 6 kids. It's really, and we just keep open. I mean, I think we had 2 in the beginning of the year, and we just, whenever I get a new kid and they tell me, we almost curate it to their schedule. They tell us their times, and if they have a buddy, and then we open up a class, because it doesn't cost me anything to have a class going on in my studio, as long as I have my teacher, if the room's not being used. So I'm fine breaking even in the beginning of my class, as long as I can drum up a little more business. And we tend to go to like between 2 to, if we start with 2 kids, we'll go to 4 kids within like 3 weeks.
So if you have 2 kids, you'll launch the band.
I'll launch it. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so let's go to first of all, great numbers, by the way. That's
thanks.
30 kids that's solid. That's.
I'll be honest. I did Facebook marketing 1 month, and I didn't have my act together, so I pulled it because I'm like risk aversion. So what we did when we started it is we put up a couple flyers, like we put 4 to a page, and we put, I think, the picture of the kid on drums. I think you had a picture of a Kidzrock, and with like, it's an old flyer of yours.
Yeah.
So we did that, and we got probably 4 people signed up, and we started our first class. And
where did you put the flyers?
In like ice cream stores, and we're in city center. We basically are in one town, a pretty big town, but one town that has that we are teaching out of. So just like the flyers worked fine, and we basically very low key, until I knew the program's success, very low key just mentioned it to people. And we still actively aren't, like, to my own fault, we're not actively hardcore marketing the program just because we're busy with 10,000 things, but it kind of catches on over time because people tend to do it and they tell their friends. It kind of catches on like wildfire. So I bet if we promoted it more, and I really want to put money into Facebook marketing and everything, I bet we would hit like 50 kids. I think those numbers would work.
Yeah.
So my marketing right now is, we have a Facebook moms groups, like local moms groups have been like, if I go and type in, or if my wife who's in the group, she types in in-home jams, there, and if someone types in and says, what do you think of this program called Kidzrock, or what do you think of in-home jams, there'll be 10 parents literally writing about it. So we'll get like, it sells itself. In other words, people just sign up because they see the remarks. Oh, it's a great program. Oh, you got to check out the program. So a lot of our leads come from this Facebook moms group.
That's so interesting. I've never tried that. I'm just curious. Anyone else here try something like that?
So it's written by parents for moms. So if that exists in your area, moms like hearing from other moms.
Yeah, one of the teachers, I was just going to say, one of the teachers here at the music studio belongs to Facebook Moms group. So she's actively promoting Kidzrock for us. Yeah, it's great.
It's awesome.
But how do they do it in a way that's not a turnoff to people in the group?
They're just honest. They're just like, we love the program. I mean, if your program sucks, moms will tell each other, like, don't do this. If your program is awesome, they'll just be honest. And it's funny, you see all your clients who are all tapped into the moms group, they'll just start, all of them will write something about it.
Wow.
They don't think you're looking at it.
Right.
I'm not in it. Even though Audra's in it, she's not meant, like my wife, Audra, she's not writing into it. It's the other moms, but Audra's in the group, so she shows me what people say, and it's a good measure of where your business is when parents are like saying, wow, it's okay, the program's okay. But in this case, it's been pretty good. So I've relied on that for incoming kids. And then we've also had, those town events, like we have Newton Day or Village Day. We actually rented a table, which a lot of people will do, like all the vendors. And we used to just kind of have our stuff, our wares on display. But this year I said, forget this. We're going to actually do Kidzrock classes on the lawn, like by our table. So I brought a Roland amp with like 4 channels, put 2 keyboards on the lawn. You with me?
Yeah.
And had the guitars plugged in all through like a little system, all through like a battery powered system, and ran like little mock classes on the lawn. Imagine like 30 tables in the town center. And instead of maybe I pissed someone off, but and I had a little drum set too. And so we were basically signing people up for the class, because the best way to sign up with people for the class is by demoing the class, right?
Right.
So we demoed the class which is, it's pretty, it's definitely pushing the boundaries here, but I demoed classes on site and just threw kids in. Hey dude, what's up? You rock star? Get up on those drums. Hey, you get on those keyboards. Jump in and, and I had my teacher on his wireless guitar, on his acoustic, playing, and we ran classes, like not official classes, but for 5 minutes at a time. A kid got on there, the parents would take videos, and I'd be like, hey, we're doing an open house next week. Sign up for a demo class.
Wow. I love it.
So ironically, we probably got 10 kids in a day who were, it's the coolest class. No one else is doing it, but it's hard to sell it. The pitch is hard to do if they have 2 minutes to talk to you, and you're just literally pulling them out of a bike path. So would we actually having the instruments there, and the kids, of course, are going to go want to play the drums, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would just gravitate. 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 4-year-olds would gravitate, and then we would just jam with them on song 1 for 3 minutes, and then we would tell the parents, "Hey, come for a free class. Here's a sticker."
Wow, I love that.
It's really I love those town events, and I'm wired for those kinds of things. I love shooting the breeze with parents, and I'm that kind of personality. I like those events, and whenever I'm in contact with people, I do really well. Versus the phone is cool, but I really like being in person.
That's great. I love it.
So Facebook marketing will probably do really well once I get my act together. But in the meantime, the program's it's doing this. It's people are signing up and meeting us, and then telling their friends.
Look, but 30 kids in the program is great. I mean, that's
awesome. It's awesome. But I think if we really spent time doing it, we would do higher numbers.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the next question. What do you attribute your success to with Kidzrock? I think you answered some of it, but is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think having a great teacher, the success is the teacher.
Yeah.
So the Kidzrock class runs itself. Like the curriculum's awesome, but the real success is having an amazing teacher connect with the kids. So I had a girl doing it last time, and she was fine, and the class kind of was okay, and the concert was cool. But once I got this new guy, he's been like just super into it, and he's an amazing voice, and he's awesome. And now I gave him like a headset mic now, a wireless headset mic, and
I like that.
He's running the class, and it's a big difference when there's somebody who's really special running the show. And I'm actually not a very good teacher. So I've had to run it before when teachers have been missing, and I don't do very well in that situation. So I think it's been very evident that a good teacher is important.
If you were to have to hire a new Kidzrock teacher today, what personality traits, what attributes would you be looking for?
Like camp counselor personality, good singer, always smiling, super outgoing. Like a theater kind of person who would do well in theater.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also kind of answered the next one, about guerrilla style grassroots marketing. I mean, that's something that's really been.
That's been our method.
Right. I love it. Do you have a phone pitch or some talking points when you're on the phone selling or out in public? What's your elevator pitch?
I mean, I don't have it like you have a really good pitch. I kind of pull from that, but I've used this program to take kids who are 4 to 7 who want music lessons. And I've had to turn it, and always been like, because the parents come and say, my child loves guitar or ukulele, he's 5. And I'm like, sure, yeah, I get it. But, that's always been the way to end. So I've always transitioned from the Big Mac to let me tell you about the quarter pounder. So my method's always been, I've come in maybe from a negative, I don't know. I've said like, I love that your child wants to rock out on guitar, and that's awesome. He is 5, so he's got small hands, or they're piano players. They're not, they don't yet have those concepts yet where lessons oftentimes are frustrating for them. there's this, and I immediately, do you mind if I tell you about this really cool program? I always say, like, I'm happy to do the lessons for you, but you guys should come to the studio and check out this cool program called Kidzrock. And it gets the kids going and jumping on a band and playing drums and keyboards and guitar. And they get to do a concert. And at the end of every class, you guys can come in and watch the kids, come in and do a free class, try it out, no expectations. And I send them, after that, I say, give me your email. I just send them like 5 videos and 5 pictures in an email and let them, and it sells itself. So I just let them, once they see other kids, 5 kids sitting on the couch, smiling, high-fiving each other and all rocking out, it's hard for a parent to not want to do it.
That's great.
So a lot of it is the picture. But it can sometimes be a unique pitch. So, yeah.
I want to make a really quick side note. I know some of you are making notes, and this will be recorded. I encourage everyone to check out this software. It's called BombBomb. It's video email, and bomb. I think is what like an explosion bomb.
Okay.
And you make, oh good, looks like Janice is looking it up. Did you find it? Yeah, so you make a video and you like attach it to the email, and then it looks, people receive the email like it's encrypted into the email, and they click on it and the video plays. But it's a really,
well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's basically taking the email message and putting it in the video, but that could be a really great way for you to do, when you said you send them videos.
I send them, yes, video clips of the class.
Right, but you could do both in the same email.
That's cool.
Hey, I want to welcome you to In-Home Jams. Really excited to meet Ryan at his first class. You'll see below in the email a couple links for some concerts and Kidzrock band practices. Looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday. And boom, you're done.
That's great.
I get the sense that the amount of time that you put into it is the same as typing up the email. Totally. But I've heard a lot of marketers talking about the value of this. And I guarantee you, your competitors are not communicating this way.
I'm sure they're not.
Right. Not yet. But be the first one. So yeah, that's my little side note about that. I want to get on to the next question. You kind of answered the next one, about if someone's between the ages of 4 and 7 and they want piano lessons. I
would say 4 to 5, definitely bring them into the class, because I'm in a couple different areas. I'm in another town. They don't want to come to my town anyways. Like I go in homes in other towns. So for me, I'm always like, let me weigh out my options. Are they going to want to come to this Kidzrock class from this 20 minutes away, or should I just stick with the lesson? So by the time they're 6 or 7, they can go either way, because they can do piano lessons at 6. I think piano lessons at 6 are fine. However, if they're in my town, I'm just like, it's a lot easier to just bring them into the Kidzrock and let them really love it. And some kids do both. Some kids do Kidzrock class and piano lessons at home, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Which is a double, double. But generally speaking, I would say 4 and 5 definitely. Like I wouldn't want a guitar teacher of mine to be teaching guitar to a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old. I just think it's frustrating. I've seen it. I've taught instruments to young kids. It's frustrating. One-on-one lessons, they end up getting a little more frustrated. There's nothing like putting them into a Kidzrock band and just having them have the time of their lives.
Right. Beautiful. Okay. What positive impact has Kidzrock had on your business?
I mean, besides that, it's grown the numbers from I think we were at like 175 or 150. I think it's grown it. It's done very well for us. It's fed people into our next program, into the lessons, kind of like I think it's designed to do. Kids will graduate out of the program, or they're going to junior rockers and into lessons. It allows us to be different than other companies. Every other company is doing the same thing: lessons and bands. All of a sudden, there's this other component to it. Can I make? Oh, sorry.
No, you got it.
Can I make one more thing that I think that's kind of cool? You mentioned preschools, like when you started. Right? You marketed the preschools. So what I did is, one of our clients, our teen clients, they had the mom runs the preschool. She's like the president of the co-op. and I knew they were looking for a new teacher, like a guitar teacher to come in. I've never done the preschool thing, so I knew that we had our teacher Steve was more than capable. He'd been doing little kids classes, so I actually said to her, "Look, I will do this I will bring a teacher in, try him out, and I'll do it even at cost if I can market to your preschool." Like 100% market, like in other words, at their concerts, give out Kidzrock flyers.
Yeah.
To the parents, you'll email them and be like, hey, we have a partnership with Darren Simon with Kidzrock. Like really, so I've actually taken our teachers in. It's my first school I did it, but I'll do it to other schools and driven and basically at cost. So just pay him his hourly as long as I can market Kidzrock through your school or promote to your school. So I think the idea of going into a preschool is awesome because that's the next. Those 3-year-olds are going to be, and 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds are going to be your direct candidates. So to me, that's another marketing technique that I'm proud of. But I think it's an amazing program. Yeah, and I was even telling you, I would even do it as its own. Like I was telling you, I'd be interested in opening up a Kidzrock school, like a location with just Kidzrock. It's that cool and unique of a program that it could also stand alone on its own.
I agree. I think a Kidzrock Junior Rockers school and a little small standalone would really work. I want to ask you some more questions because you're bringing up lots of great stuff. But let's move on the list. It says, what has been your biggest challenge with Kidzrock?
The concerts. I still don't quite understand how to do them yet. We've only done a couple of them. And there's one coming up in January for us, so I'm still figuring that out.
Why don't you reach out to me before the concert?
I will.
We'll just do like a quick rundown.
I will, and I'll do it with our teacher too.
Yeah, better yet, yeah.
And then just like the turnover, there's definitely turnover. You know, at the end of a concert, there'll be kids, attritioning out. I think that's the uncertainty. I'd like with lessons, I think they stick around for a couple years. Kidzrock's obviously, I look at it kind of like a jump starter. If I can get them for 3 to 6 months, like committed, then as long as they turn it to something else, I'm fine. But there is a little bit of turnover from last year. But now I have a new teacher this year, and I have a feeling because he's such a great teacher, the kids are going to want to sign up. They've actually asked. Some people have asked for Kidzrock birthday parties. So
we've done that.
So I think the challenge people will face who haven't done it or who have done it is that constantly having to bring in new faces.
Yeah, and I think Kidzrock's for everyone. Anyone can do Kidzrock. Not everyone can do piano lessons in terms of there's a certain level of seriousness and commitment that a student is already at when they decide piano lessons. They maybe bought a piano and the parents are saying, we're going to give this a good 6 months. There's a high expectation in piano.
And there's a lot of weight on the shoulders.
What's that?
For a parent, there's a lot of weight, there's a lot of burden parents have on their shoulders. My kid needs to practice, blah, blah, blah. This is like the opposite. This is like there are no expectations except bring your kid in, they're going to learn. Even some parents are asking me, can I take the book home with me? Can they play it? I'm like, no. This is a welcoming for like how awesome music is. This is like joining the soccer team.
Right.
Kindergarten soccer. You know what I mean?
And my advice to everyone is those kids that drop out of Kidzrock, keep track of their birth dates and keep track of their contact info. Because I always, every once in a while, I'll say, okay, I'm going to just do nothing but make phone calls for 3 days. And I call old Kidzrockers that haven't been in the school for maybe a year. And I'll say, hey, I noticed that Sean's now, 8 years old. And I really think Sean, would be a good fit for our Junior Rockers program. We have an opening on Tuesday at 10. Love to have Sean. I remember he really enjoyed the guitar in Kidzrock. And, because typically the kids drop out of Kidzrock, not because they didn't like it, it's because the parents are in the mindset of we are on a rotation of activities.
Right, right.
And I have Kidzrockers that are seasonal. They only do the first fall concert, and I don't see them for a year, and then they come back.
Right.
And so, okay, it's a whole different type of customer.
Totally.
What advice would you offer to a licensee just getting started?
Obviously, to just have like the faith. It's not, the investment itself is not enormous. In other words, the monthly cost to just keep it going, there's not a huge franchise fee or whatever. It's like, even when in the summer, we weren't even operating, was last summer. And to me, I'm just like, you know what? It's going to run itself. Just stay with the course. I'd love there to be classes. Like if I'm not really, if it's not going great, and there've been times when I've had one class or two classes, because it's not our only program, and because I'm assuming it's not the only program on other people's, in these other people here, you just stay the course and you slowly build it and you try new things, but you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So you just stay the course. I mean, it's such a unique program. It's one of the few programs that are actually turnkey in our business. You know, there's no reason why it can't work. I think it's just a matter of finding out the pricing and the clients and this new group and how to shoot the breeze with them and get them excited and try new things. But for me, it takes like one or two students to break even. It's almost like just keep it going, even when it's not at the top numbers.
Well, wow, Darren, that was really beautiful. Thank you so much for
what you doing it. Thank you for
really great ideas. My big takeaway is this whole idea of the Facebook mom groups, and this idea of just getting out in the community with Kidzrock, not even having a trial class, but literally taking Kidzrock and put it out. You know,
totally.
I mean, you could go to like a park, you know, with your staff and see if the park will let you rent, you know, a little space. And I mean, it's really
like this weekend, Dave. There's someone called me, someone doing some big construction. They're like knocking down our whole, you know, half a town and building this new thing. And they're trying to get PR going for the town. And they're like, we're going to do this PR thing. We're going to do a holiday stroll on Saturday. And we're going to offer one of our places that we're knocking down into a location for artists or whatever. I said, hey, sign me up. After class on Saturday, I'll send my guy over with the drums and the keyboards, and I'll have him there for 2 or 3 hours. And as long as you say, come rock out and shop with Kidzrock, open house 4 to 7, I'm like, anytime anybody asks me if I can put our setup somewhere, happily. It takes 10 minutes to set it up. Like I've got a portable little Roland amp for a couple channels. No problem. That's the best way to set it up, is the actual doing it. So anytime you can put your group anywhere without like just a name or a marketing or like simple online marketing, and you can actually go and meet the kids, what kid's not going to want to do this? Right.
That's great. You guys, I know we're going a little long here, but I think there's just too much good information coming out, so we'll keep rolling. I want to kick it over to Emily Queels next, in Manhattan, Kansas, just to the west of me. And I just want to say, you know, something really quick about Emily. Emily has just taken off as a marketer in the last year, and you know, her passion for marketing growth has been so impressive. And I encourage you to check out her website. I really love your copy on your website. And what's the website? Is it MissEmilysMusic.com?
Miss Emily's Music School.
Oh, MissEmilysMusicSchool.com.
Yeah.
And Darren, you're InHomeJams.com.
Yep.
And okay, so Emily, let's run down the questions with you. What has been, can you give us a brief overview of your marketing strategy?
It's really basic. I'm listening to Darren. I'm like, man, we don't do enough. We do our Facebook ads. Community events are big for us too, to the point where we are now being requested. The Boys and Girls Club, they requested our Kidzrock band to play a block party. And then Boys and Girls Club asked us to do an event with them. So it's just kind of become this huge thing. I think, God, summer, we were doing a new event like every other week. It was insane. And doing the instrument petting zoo is basically what we do. We did that trick or treat event where they had a trail, and we put all of these instruments out in the middle of this forest and had all these kids play as they were trick-or-treating. And you know it's successful, and you've created a moment when the parents are using their phone to take a picture and they're going to post that later.
Beautiful.
And it was interesting to go onto Instagram and look for that event and see all of the band pictures. It was pretty cool.
Are you doing your own Facebook ads, or have you outsourced it to someone else to do?
I am blessed to have a parent who is a social media marketer, so we barter.
That's great. And you're happy
Yes.
with what the parent's doing?
Yeah, we've actually been on hold. We haven't done anything since the new building stuff started because it's just a little too much and we can't take anyone on right now. So we've been on a standstill, but we're still getting kids. I got 2 new Kidzrock students today. So
Wow, congratulations.
yeah.
All right. Nice way to kind of wind down the year. And I'm just, so you have what, 20 kids in the program?
We are actually up to 25 now.
Wow.
We had 23.
You guys,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Really good, you guys. 25, 30, that's awesome. Okay, and so it sounds like you're doing, I mean, between Facebook, you're doing a lot of grassroots, kind of getting out in the community.
Yeah, our goal is to become the talk of the town. And it's really easy too because no one else is offering this. So
Right. Okay, what do you attribute, and maybe you've answered this as well in the first question, but what do you attribute your success to with Kidzrock?
honestly, making it the only option. And I didn't realize that until you guys started talking about Junior Rockers a little, and you know, Junior Rockers hasn't been as successful for me, and I think it's because I haven't made it the only option.
Right.
It's a lot harder to say, oh no, you have to do the rock band if you're 10 years old.
And I just want to point out, I never market my Junior Rockers. I only market it internally. I know it's on my website, but I don't put Facebook ads out there for it. It's too, it takes too many sentences to describe what it is. What we do is, if you're between the ages of 7 and 11 and you want guitar lessons in my school, guess what? You're going into Junior Rockers. And we're not going to make you, but my sales staff and myself, we have strategies to kind of point out the value of going into Junior Rockers first. And again, I'd say 80% of our inquiries in that age group go into Junior Rockers. It's interesting. I have about 30 kids in Kidzrock right now. So it's my lowest numbers ever, but I've got, I think, 60 in Junior Rockers. Because Kidzrock's just feeding and most of those Junior Rockers they're either old Kidzrockers or they're old or their parents that called up for piano lessons, but guess what? Your kid's in a rock band now. And then we say, and then if your kid's really into the band, they can have lessons on later.
That makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's the key with the Junior Rockers success, is that you've got to market it completely different. And I market Junior Rockers to old Kidzrockers that dropped out a year or so ago, and I kind of repitch the whole program, and I write them a personal email, or I call them. You know, when you start calling people, you look at sales. You will get sales. It's a numbers game. Okay, and you also kind of answered this. Next question is, have you done any guerrilla style grassroots marketing? That's really been your ammo, and Darren too. So that's interesting. Both of you guys are really going guerrilla with that. And okay, so what do you do, Emily, when somebody calls? I got a 5-year-old that wants piano lessons. What's your strategy at that point?
So it's like a whole thing here. Just a few points. I will mention that they have their primary instrument, but they learn all of the instruments. So it's perfect if you don't know which instrument your kid might like, or you think they might be interested in piano, but you're not entirely sure. I also mentioned that there's no practice required and no at-home instrument required. That is probably not what most schools want to sell, but it is what I sell, and it's selling well. Everybody is, that's always the question. How long do they have to practice, and do I have to buy an instrument? And this is the problem solver for that. And then I do mention that there's concerts every 10 weeks.
Okay, good. So you're getting, so what will you, but if the mom with the 6-year-old calls for piano, will you tell them about Kidzrock, or do you go, okay, great, here's my openings for piano.
This is actually one of the Kidzrock students who just signed tonight. She initially contacted me for ukulele for a 4-year-old, and I thought that was so weird. And so I was like, I just asked a question. You know, you're always supposed to ask a question. I was like, does he really like ukulele, or are you going more for guitar? And she's like, ukulele. I thought we had to start there to get to guitar. Or I'm sorry, we really want a guitar, but I thought we had to start with ukulele. And I was like, no, let me tell you about this program. And so they went from wanting ukulele, guitar, to they signed up for Kidzrock tonight.
Right.
Which is a lot more money.
Those little shifts and those little changes in language make a huge difference. You know, when we started saying, well, we recommend this, it was our way of saying, hey, we're the experts here. I'm going to tell you what's best. You know, when you go to buy, you know, something and the salesperson is more of an expert than you are quick to trust them. And if they say, well, Emily, you know, I really recommend the blue top for you because it really, you know, it's a good color for you. Oh, well, okay, you're the expert. You deal with clothing and fashion all day. I'll go with your advice. And parents view us as experts the minute we're on the phone. And if we're willing to assert our expertise, parents will respond positively to that. Okay, so what positive impact has Kidzrock had on your business?
We have the one-of-a-kind program. No one gets close to this. I mean, Kansas City is the closest thing that's close to Kidzrock with School of Rock, you know. We just don't have that here. And I mean, it's about 30% of our income, maybe a little bit more. And then it really pushed us to do more events, to the point where our new commercial building was actually like, I wanted an event room where we can open the garage door and have concerts more frequently. So pushed me out of my comfort zone with that a little bit.
Well, great. And what advice? I think we've got Robin is new and Sean is new to Kidzrock. What advice would you offer them?
Probably to have like a legit marketing plan. I did that with Kidzrock. I didn't do it with Junior Rockers. And be confident enough to say that this is our only option, or this is the option we have for that age group.
Hey, Michelle. Okay, great. Well, Emily, really, really great stuff, and really just pleased to hear 25 kids. That's really awesome. You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, Ed Lettner.
Yes.
You've been, how long, can you tell everyone the name of your studio and where you're located?
Yes, it's the Music Studio, and we're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And we've been open since 1990. I've been offering Kidzrock for a little over a year. And it's been a great addition to our programming. You know, we have a lot of different things going on. Private lessons, of course, a big part of what we offer. We have a band program, and we have traditional children's classes for, you know, basically the 4 to 7-year-olds. But I tell you, the Kidzrock has really, really caught on, and people are really, really excited about it.
That's great. Can you, and you and I have spoken a lot about your marketing strategy. If you could just kind of share with everyone a brief overview of what you guys are doing.
Sure. I mean, I try a lot of different things in general for the studio in terms of the marketing, and Kidzrock, you know, definitely tapping into our current customer base is a big one. So, you know, and just communicating with families, parents who come in here, and maybe they're bringing an older child in for lessons, and you know, I know they have younger children as well, so I'll talk to them about Kidzrock, and I'll also contact people, like you were saying, Dave. You know, phoning or emailing is huge. You know, people appreciate that personal touch, and so I'll contact families who I know have kids 4 to 7 years of age to make them aware of the program, and, you know, say, you know what, we're having an open house coming up, why don't you come to that, or come out for a free trial class. So that's, you know, a big part of what we do. And beyond that, we do social media. Not so much Facebook ads. Yeah, I've tried that in general for Kidzrock and other things for the music studio. Just for me, it hasn't worked really, really well. But definitely social media presence in general is important. And also things like our website, of course, just, keeping that up to date as far as the Kidzrock goes and having an impactful presence. And newsletters. So we send out regular email newsletters to all our customers. So always, making sure they know about Kidzrock. And another thing that works well for us, we do monthly coffee house concerts at a coffee shop close to where we are. And that's something for all the students to come out and participate in. So I have an arrangement with them whereby I leave the Kidzrock postcards. So the ones that you have prepared, I just, print off a lot of those each year and leave a bunch right where people put their milk and sugar in. And so we get people from that as well. So things like that. With the local community center, I do the same thing where there's a swimming pool. So parents are bringing kids for lessons. And there's a display where I've got those postcards for Kidzrock as well. So, I find a lot of different things. Each play their role. There's also a local paper here, serves our community, and they come out and cover all our events and publish stories and put photos in the paper and online as well. And they'll come out if we're having an open house or Kidzrock concert. So they'll come out, send a photographer, do a whole feature story on it. So that helps as well.
And Ed, can you share with us how many kids you currently have in Kidzrock?
Yeah, right now we've got 20 kids, and it has been up as high as 25. And then, I've got my list of people who were interested in, September, October. They couldn't fit it into their schedule, but they, say, well, look, you know what, January is going to be a good time because we've got a change of activities for the kids or whatever. So what I'll do is contact them, just touch base with them. To get them registered for January. So, it's definitely, I find the fall is a good starting point. And then like last winter, I experienced the same thing. We had a good start in the fall and the winter. It dropped off a little bit actually, and then it picked up again in the spring. So, we'll see what happens this year.
That's great. What do you attribute your success to with Kidzrock?
Sorry, I didn't catch the first part.
What do you attribute your success to with Kidzrock?
Well, really just, kind of the personal touch with people. So just, talking it up with people here at the music studio and just people in the community as well. Because I find, as has been mentioned before tonight, just letting people know about the program and it's something totally different is how I'll mention it to parents. They'll say, well, it's a little bit different than your typical program for kids 4 to 7 years of age. So just getting them to be aware of the features of the program and what does set it apart. So that's a big part of what I work on, is just kind of communicating directly to people as much as I can, and just explaining the program to them.
It's interesting. Both, you and Ed and you, Darren, and Emily are really driving home this point of just interfacing with your community and talking about it. Actually, when I first was starting it, I always carried those postcards with me. And if I was in line at Starbucks and there's like a mom there with her like 6-year-old, I would start chatting her up and then boom, hit her with the card. But I would always try to do it in a very like organic way, to start talking with the kid first. The kids are always easy to engage. And I'm always like that like dorky uncle guy that like tries to get kids to laugh. But I've gotten plenty of students that way. And I love the idea of the postcards in the coffee shop. I mean, that's huge. And really, super organic. Okay, can you share with us your phone sales pitch or some talking points that you always make a point to hit on when you're doing a sales call?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a few of the big points are just the ability for someone's child to be making music really straight away at the first class. You know, just having it be so accessible rather than having to go home and practice and what have you until they get a piece of music sounding, you know, respectable on the piano or the guitar or what have you. So, you know, that's a big part of it. And just that sort of immediate sense of accomplishment that the kid will experience. And the parents, you know, appreciate that. They,
Great word.
See the value in that. And just the fact that there is no home practice required is also a great feature of the program. And yeah, and again, as I think Emily mentioned, that you know, they don't have to go out and buy an instrument to participate in the program. So basically, I'll make those points, and you know, just say it's also a great way to experience different instruments, because a lot of times I'll have parents calling me up, say, look, I've got 5-year-old, 6-year-old, don't know what instrument to start them on. What do you suggest? So I'll say, well, you know what? You can try you know, you can try 3 different instruments in one program. And so learning the basics of playing the instruments and basic music skills while playing in a rock band, and having that experience and that sense of accomplishment that comes from, you know, making music with the other kids. So you know, that really resonates with people, I find. And you know, it was interesting. The other day I got a call from a parent asking about Kidzrock, and it turns out that she's a piano teacher. So, you know, when I mentioned about the color-coded system for learning the notes as well, you know, don't they learn how to read the notes? And I said, well, yeah, I mean, along the way they transition into that, but you know, that's one of the reasons why the program works so well, in my experience, is that it allows the kids to start playing music from day one. And then she thought about it and said, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. And I thought, okay, well, that's good, because I was coming from a piano teacher who said, you know, I always get people reading the notes. I learned how to read notes when I was 4 years old. But she saw the merit in your system, in the Kidzrock system, for her own child. So so that was good.
Well, I always use the line when a parent goes there. I say, look, I always say this. I say, look, we teach music the same way kids learn a language. They listen, they imitate, they begin to speak it, and then they learn to read. We don't want to open up a book on day one and throw it in front of your child, because it's, you know, going to push them away. We want to get them up and playing and speaking music right away on day one. And parents, and even the piano teacher, typically is open to that idea. It's just a different approach. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different approach, but it's the one where you can see, you know, pretty much immediately the results. And you know, another point I make with the parents is, you know, one of the big things about this program is just to get kids excited about music, about making music, playing music, learning an instrument. And that's a big part of it, because then that's going to, you know, improve the chances that they're going to continue. And they're already going to have a good grounding that they can then take to lessons if they want on a specific instrument. But just to get them really excited about that. And other times I'll have parents say, you know, my kids really loves music, loves to sing, loves to, you know, whatever, dance to music at home. When I was a kid, I had to take piano lessons. I hated it. And I don't want that experience for my child. So I say, well, Kidzrock is perfect, because they're going to love it. You know, it's going to instill in them the real desire to enjoy and experience music. And it's going to be a big plus. And I find that to be huge with parents who have had negative experiences as a child with piano lessons, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, really strikes a chord with them. So, you know, once I go through and just explain, you know, obviously the features of the program, they see there's there's a real method behind it. It's not just we, put a bunch of kids in a room with some instruments and just let them go nuts for 45 minutes. That there's a curriculum that's followed. So I make a point of saying, it's a curriculum that the teachers follow. It's laid out class by class, and every 10th class there's going to be a concert. And they love that as well, and obviously that's gives them some obvious evidence of the progress of the kids. So, just the fact that it is, a well-organized, well-presented program, that goes a long way, I find, as well with parents.
Well, and I want to point out 3 words that I've heard you use consistently. One is curriculum, instant results, and a sense of accomplishment. Like, those are all things that parents desire results. And they desire their child to experience sense of accomplishment. But the word curriculum does, I think, kind of answer that question of, well, how is this even possible that 4-year-olds can do this? And by just saying, oh, well, there's a method, that in of itself is like, okay, good. As long as there's, this is intentional and this is purposeful, and it's not just kids in a room, with this like sweaty band director trying to, get them under control. Okay, so let's say you get a mom calls with a 6-year-old who wants piano lessons. What do? Do you say, great, we're going to do piano, or do you try to redirect them to Kidzrock?
Well, I give them something of a balanced approach. I'll say, because they're calling about piano lessons, so I'm going to address that inquiry. And, obviously that's a big part of what we do here as well. So I'll say, look, this is how that works, 30-minute weekly lessons, and then I'll say, or there's also the possibility of Kidzrock. Explain that to the parent as well, and I'll really highlight the fact there's a difference in terms of just the makeup of the class versus the lesson. So I'll say, for kids, for some kids 6 years of age, for example, sitting in a 30-minute private piano lesson where that's all you're doing can be a bit of a test of their attention span. And sometimes, a child is ready for that at that age. Sometimes they need to be a little bit older to really benefit from the private lesson situation versus a Kidzrock type situation where they're in it with other kids and they're rotating through different instruments. Like, there's just more variety within the span of the class as opposed to the lesson. So, I highlight that to the parent as well, because, sometimes they'll just immediately say, oh yeah, well, that's my son or daughter. I was wondering if they could sit still for 30 minutes in the lesson, but this Kidzrock sounds great. Do that and get them going, and then maybe try the piano lessons when they're a little bit older. So I find a lot of times just making the parent aware of Kidzrock does the job for me, and they'll just make the call themselves. Other times, if the parent says, well, I'll keep that in mind, the Kidzrock, but I really want to try the piano lessons, and I'll say, fine. So I'll say, well, come in for a trial piano lesson. And, sometimes, it goes well and we continue on with the piano lesson. Other times it's apparent during the lesson that this is not going to work out at this point in time. It's just not the right thing for this particular child. And then the parent will say to me, so can you tell me more about the Kidzrock? And then I'll, a class, Kidzrock class, and then generally speaking, they're in kind of thing, and a lot of it is just the kids' reaction themselves. The kids come out of the first Kidzrock class, big smiles on their faces. The kids are talking to each other, laughing, having a great time, and that sells it right there. And the parents are just so pleased that they've found an activity their child enjoys and that they're learning something and what have you. And sometimes obviously you have that experience, a kid coming out of a piano lesson, but other times the kid comes out and it's like, I don't want to do this again. And in which case the Kidzrock is really a natural alternative, and it's kind of, for parents, makes their life a little bit easier, kind of falls in line with the whole kid doesn't have to practice for Kidzrock. because I'll hear from parents as well if they had to take piano lessons when they were young, and he says, I always remember my practice and I didn't want to practice, and it becomes this confrontational situation, a source of stress for the parent and the child, as opposed to just a really positive experience from Kidzrock, partly because they don't have to practice.
I just think it's so fascinating in our industry that we sell a product that every human loves. Everybody loves music. It's like it's a basic human desire. One could maybe argue that it's key to human sanity. Imagine life without music at all. But yet somehow these music lessons often kill it for kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, the problem isn't music. It's not that, well, yeah, I went to my lesson and I don't like music. And everybody who listens to music fantasizes or dreams at some point about, I wonder what it's like to actually touch music and hold it and create it. And I feel like as music educators, we got to figure this thing out. Like if anyone is getting turned off to music because of lessons, something is really wrong with the lessons. And there's no reason why lessons can't be as fun as a Kidzrock class. And so yeah, that's it's all great stuff that you're sharing. Let's move on to the next question. What has been your biggest challenge with Kidzrock?
Well, I would say the turnover. I'm sure it's the same with the other people participating tonight. The kids are involved in so many different activities, and the parents, tend to think of it in terms of seasons. So here, of course, hockey is huge, and so if the world stops for hockey season for the kids, so we'll get the kids in maybe in the fall. They're in Kidzrock. They'll do 10-week session, and they'll say, okay, well, I've done that. Yeah, we loved it. I think maybe we'll come back to it, maybe in the spring or something, but it's hockey season and we can't fit it in. There's too much going on. So that's an ongoing issue. And also just, sometimes parents think, oh, it's 10 weeks and that's it. That's the whole course. And I'll say, no, it's the next 10 weeks builds on the first 10 weeks. And so sometimes they just go in, we just do the 10 weeks and then we've done Kidzrock and then we move on to swimming lessons or something, or hockey. So that's part of it. So I'm getting better at really, sort of overtly, reminding people that no, hey, this continues on. Do this for a whole year, kind of thing. So that's been a bit of a challenge. Right teachers. I've been fortunate. I had started with one woman who is really great, really energetic, and works really well with kids. She has a 7-year-old daughter herself. So, she's in that whole mindset. So she does great. And then I've just trained a second, started her first class. So, definitely the teachers make a huge, huge difference. And, just being careful about who you ask to teach the program, so I kind of, just had my criteria in mind of who I wanted and kind of approached it that way.
What are 3 things that you look for in a Kidzrock instructor?
Well, someone who can really relate to the kids, someone with a lot of patience, and someone who can have fun with the kids, who the kids feel comfortable with, but at the same time, who is able to order in the class. So that's important. I've seen as the class goes along, the classes, if you get one kid in the class that's got some behavior issues, that can really disrupt things for the others. So, it's good to have a teacher who understands that, can deal with those kinds of situations, within the class. Definitely if it becomes something that is needs to be dealt with in the class, then we do that with the parent. But, it really helps to have someone who has that maturity and sort of understanding of those kinds of situations, so that it remains a really positive class experience for everybody. And just someone also who's organized, and really takes an interest in Kidzrock. So they do really learn the teaching materials that you provide, and that they are really knowledgeable in it, and they are very methodical in terms of how they move through the curriculum on a weekly basis, so that everything is making sense as it's laid out in the materials, and it just makes it easier for the kids to progress and for the parents to see the progress.
That's great. Ed, really awesome stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us. Quick question: how close is London, Ontario to you?
London, Ontario? London is about 3 hours away.
Okay, you need to get in your car and drive over to Adam Carnes. Wait, Adam's shaking his head. It's not 3 hours? Adam's in London.
It's about 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours, okay.
Well, Ed drives a little
hour and a half if you're fast.
And Adam,
Hey, Dave.
Adam, a quick question for you. Do you say the word about as cool as the way Ed says it? Because I could listen to you guys say that word all day.
I did not notice an accent when he said it, so I can't,
I've never heard
clarify either way.
There's always Toronto.
Toronto? Who says that?
Toronto.
The people that live there.
Well, you guys, everyone, thank you so much. A lot of really great stuff, and I got some great ideas. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask or that you want to type? Darren, you got a question or a comment?
Yeah. Well, I want to say one thing. Is Adam the one who had the kids standing up at his Kidzrock concert?
Yeah.
Dude, that was awesome. That looked amazing.
It looked and it sounded amazing.
And it sounded, I'm sorry, let me back up. It looked and it sounded amazing. And I think the kid looked so cool in that video, the one with the leather jacket or the sunglasses or whatever, man, it was awesome.
Yeah, he really did it up. And in fact, he was the one person that he was my one loss, and he liked it so much that he's making his mom sign him up again.
Oh man, it was awesome.
Already.
Did you have people on the side stage? Was that just the kids playing? Or was
that was just the kids playing.
No way,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I was in the back. I kind of counted them in, or told the drummer to count them in.
Yeah.
And that was all I did.
Wow.
Wait, you didn't have
no instructors playing?
There was no instruction in playing in that, no.
That's awesome, dude.
And
I can show you the video of the other band. They don't sound as good.
Yeah.
There's two of them that played that day.
I mean, when I do my concerts, I have my band low in the mix, and I got the teachers driving the mix.
Yeah.
And the parents,
these guys were just good.
One of those.
Yeah, and we had a new one, started a new one last week, and there's a couple weaker ones, and you just put them down a little bit in the mix, and they can keep up. It's fine.
Yeah, and like with junior rockers, we've always used that as like, hey, once you're in junior rockers, you can stand up and play, and that's like a big thing.
Mm.
But I think it's really cool. I mean, maybe you could say the 6 and 7-year-olds get to stand, and the 4 to 5-year-olds sit, because I can't imagine 4 and 5-year-olds.
Yeah. Well, what I did with this, because I knew going back to the marketing side, I've marketed nothing up until now. It's all been in-house. So I wanted those pictures. I wanted them standing up, looking good. So we tried it in the last practice, and it sounded fine. So I decided to go with it. Up to then, I thought they were sitting. But just knowing, because now I want to start throwing up Facebook advertising and start going with it now. So I wanted those kind of pictures, kind of homegrown pictures, because they could all steal yours because you got a ton.
Yeah, but it is always nice, especially if you're going to do internal photos, photos of the kids in the studio. That's always super, super nice. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Adam's video, where can people check it out? I think I have it up in the Facebook group, I think.
Yeah, I posted it to our Facebook group, or one of them. I can't remember which one. And I think you shared it in a different one, so it's there.
Yeah, I think it's in the music. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be on our Instagram page, London Music Conservatory, as well.
Very cool. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments?
I have a question, actually.
Yeah.
For prospective students, do you guys offer a free trial? Do you give them a free run through? How do you usually work it?
Yeah, we offer free trials, and I find
So they just come in for a week, like one class, and kind of sit in with the band.
A week. Yep, one class and hands-on, and I find after that 9 times out of 10 they sign up.
Mm-hmm. And Ed, is your free trial? Is everyone in that class there for a free trial?
Not necessarily. It sort of depends on where things are at with everyone in the class. So if we have a class that's running that has 1 or 2 spots available, and that class time works for a prospective new student, then as long as they aren't too far along in the program. If it's a class that's just kind of started, then I'll say, look, come to a free trial class, meet the other kids, participate. And the parent, I say to the parent, look, sit in on the class. Normally, of course, they don't. The parents are in the waiting room. But if it's the trial situation, sit in the class so you can see just how easy it is for your child to jump right in and how much fun they're having. And like I say, most every time they sign up after that.
Here's an idea I just had. I've never done this. What if someone, is inquiring about the program and they want to do a trial class? You could say, well, great. Why don't you come for this 30-minute class? It'll be just your kid, but if your kid has a friend, it'd be great if the friend could come along, and then we'd be able to create a full band. Because quite often what we'll do is, we'll do what Ed does, is we'll let them kind of piggyback on a class. But sometimes if we don't have like let's say somebody calls right now and it's too close to our concert, we're not going to disrupt the class. So we just would have the kid come in for 30 minutes and meet with one of our teachers. And that's great. But we could also say, oh, and if he has a friend, invite a friend, because then we can really create a full band sound. And then the parent's going to start, looking for their friend, and then that friend could turn into a customer as well.
Yeah.
I'm just finding with customers, if you tell them or show them how you want them to get a referral for you, they'll do it. You just have to say, do this for me. Will you send this email to your friend? Or hey, if you have any friends, it's like if you put that idea in their head, they, if they love your studio, they're going to want you to succeed. They want you to get more students.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a woman whose child was in the program, and she said, I'm going to tell my cousin about this. This is great. And then a couple of days later, the cousin calls. Says, oh, yeah, I was talking to my so-and-so, and yeah, we're going to sign up, So they do the sales pitch for me, really.
Right.
Because they're already, they know someone personally who's had a really good experience with Kidzrock and whose child is really enjoying it and getting a lot out of it. So, when they contact me, it's already a done deal.
Right.
It's just like, so when can we start?
I always use this
great.
In concert. I always use this line. I'll say, hey, and if you're taking any pictures today of your child playing, be sure to put it on social media, and who knows, maybe your child will inspire another kid to want to play music. That always works. And getting those parents to post is huge. Anyone else? Any questions?
Hey, Dave, I have one more question.
Yeah.
I have a question. What is the most, out of all of your people that are doing the program, all your licensees, what is the most students someone has had or does have in the Kidzrock program?
Oh, like the maximum student count?
I think 25 is a good number to go for, but the people who've gotten past that, has Danny done more than that?
Danny's gone a little bit past 30. I'm hovering at 30. I always like to see licensees at least 12 to 15. Okay. When I see people averaging 12 to 15, I'm like, okay, that's a nice base number. And then I think over time, you'll get to a point where you'll kind of say to yourself, like the minute you introduce junior rockers into the mix, it's going to limit how big Kids Rock can be, which is fine. But as long as junior rockers, because junior rockers is the bigger moneymaker for me, because it's a longer class and it costs more for people to be in it,
Right.
and the retention's better.
Right.
Because it's a little more of a higher level musician in junior rockers.
I want to get into, we should do something like this for those people, the junior rockers who have more kids. Because I don't know, maybe I'm speaking for everybody here, but I think I have 2 classes. I mean, I think those should go up to 20 or 30 kids. You seem to have done really well with that, but maybe that's another discussion. Because I think everyone's pushing, Kids Rock is so easy to push. And even you said it, junior rockers is one of these things that you promote from within.
Right.
Or maybe we haven't been around long enough with Kids Rock to have kids age out.
Yeah, and here's a great exercise. I would, look at what Kids Rockers left your studio and are not, because you've been doing the program, what, how many years? 2 years?
Per year.
You're not, I thought you're on to your second year.
I'm on but I just started my second year.
Right. And, look at somebody who's 7 or 8 and call them up and say, hey, I don't know, go to them and say, I really hope, little Johnny still has music in life. Really kind of like lead with, the importance of music, and you hope that Johnny's got music in his life, and want to let you know we've got this other program called Junior Rockers, and Johnny's now old enough for it. Really build a desire in the parents and go, oh, and we have a opening on Tuesday night at 6.
Right.
You guys be interested.
Kids Rock is definitely the shinier object for us.
Right.
And
For everybody.
Doing it. It's so hip. It's so cool. It's so different. Junior Rockers gets in that like age of kids doing bands. So it's not as, you know what I mean? It's not as shiny yet for me.
Right.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's interesting. Well, as Dave knows, I'm close to adding junior rockers, and that's sort of an issue I've been wrestling with. With the Kids Rock is an easy sell because of the age group, I find. Whereas for the junior rockers with the older kids, generally speaking, they're going to work out okay in private lessons, for example. It's not like in the 4 to 7 year old range, the kids are really too young for guitar and drums and that sort of thing. So, that's not the issue with the junior rockers age group. So just, it seems like there is quite a difference in terms of how to present them that I kind of have to get my head around.
And you should only add junior rockers if it's solving a problem for your studio. If you have kids aging out of Kids Rock, great, now you're in piano lessons. Yeah, but my kid really liked the band experience. Well, he's too old now for it. It's like, okay, well, I noticed you guys do rock band. Yeah, but that's typically more for like maybe kids 10 or 11. Now you've created this age gap in your studio. And, Junior Rockers has allowed me to shift more and more students into a group program. And I don't know if any of you saw that. I interviewed a couple parents last night about practicing, and they're thinking of pulling their kid out of my school because he's not practicing. I'm like, oh, no. And I got on the phone with them, and I did a Zoom call with them, and I totally saved them. They're in Junior Rockers and lessons. And now they're going, you know what, maybe we should just do Junior Rockers and not lessons. I'm okay with that as a studio owner. Actually, not am I only okay with it, is a better profit margin there, and it will get that kid off of that teacher's schedule. We'll get that 7-year-old off that teacher schedule, and I can put, a 13-year-old or a 16-year-old on that teacher's schedule. So I've really, in my studio, private lessons is the end game. It's really only for the kid who's completely committed to music and really wants to take their learning to the next level. So it really has reversed the whole, process for my studio. So, all right, you guys, thank you all so much. People on East Coast Standard Time, Sean and Darren and Ed, are you East Coast Standard Time?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
it's late there, guys.
It's been well worth it. Thanks.
And Janice, you're East Coast. Yeah, Michelle, a lot of East Coast. All right, you guys have a great evening, and we'll connect soon.
Thank you.
Bet. Take care, Dave.
Bye-bye.